Hello everyone and welcome back to stage 4 of build the Sopwith Camel. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks so I've actually filmed any video, to be fair, so I kind of thought that I felt a little bit guilty that I've been neglecting yourselves, because obviously your support means everything to me, so I also want to thank you for continuing your support for me, even though I've not made any videos for a couple of weeks. But I just kind of thought today I'd sit down and kind of have a little bit look at this Sopwith Camel again. I've just slightly set things up a little bit. I've just put my microphone just here. Let me turn this off. Yes, I put my microphone here, so obviously that, because I think sometimes, because when I have the microphone above me, that when I face down to obviously look at the model, my voice is going down, so obviously sometimes it sounds a little bit muffled, so I'm hoping I'll keep my microphone on the table level. I might be a bit okay, but last time I had a few issues with this. It used to sound a bit poppy, but we'll see how we go. So anyway, so last time we did the stage 3, I just fitted these two top rails, and then I'd actually fitted this bottom rail off camera, and I kind of thought, well, I'll show you the procedure on the next video, but I also didn't realise it'd be about a month ago. So yeah, so pretty much all we're going to do to start with is we get this piece of wood, and this obviously a 2x2, and that's designed where it kind of goes in this front hole just there, and it also just comes all the way along these fuselage ribs, and then it sticks out this backside, this tail jig as well. So we've pretty much got to do that, and obviously underneath each one of these little like, I suppose the classes like bulkheads, kind of got like a little ledge, and that's where this piece of materials kind of sits. So like I say, so they're slightly different to the kind of instructions. Okay, so I also want to show you this as well. If you can remember when we, I think it was in issue 1 or maybe issue 2, we actually stuck on these little photo etch parts. And when I was doing this side, I found it obviously that any kind of like misalignment with these, let me just bring these parts across it just because it's easy to show you this way. That obviously, because we kind of got this slot, and that kind of fitted with a slot. Let me try and get another part. In fact, I'll show you the model. Okay, so this part went under there and it's kind of fitted on there. So yeah, so what I've kind of found is that any kind of misalignment with this part and this slot, when you kind of try to bring this part in, it just doesn't matter what you did, it wouldn't line up, and it needed like a mill to be filed off, and obviously, I mean, filing off a mill on these photo etch parts is quite difficult. So what I decided to do is actually I just kind of broke one off, because it's pretty much simple just to get them off, and I thought that I'd actually, once I'd fed this part in, I'd actually glue them back in after. But I just kind of just thought I'd show you that. And also, as carefully, I mean, like I say, that one's slightly got a little crack on it, which will be fine once we get this glue in here and we kind of get this last frame on. That'll be fine. But yeah, it's just because it's the way they stick out at the minute, it's very flimsy and easily broken. But like I said, the good thing about wood is obviously you break one, you can just put a bit of wood glue on it and just refix it. Okay, so like I say, in the instruction it tells you to kind of feed this in from this end, go all the way along, and obviously then feed that way. But like I say, it's a little bit trickier that way, so I'm just going to kind of get this 2x2, push it that way, kind of pretty much get it all lined up. You've got to push it through this tail part of the jig first, otherwise you won't get it in. So then we get it this way, and then you kind of see, making sure it fits on this slot at the end. What I'm trying to do is just obviously make sure it kind of goes in this slot, which it doesn't. Why I'm checking this for, so I actually left one on this end, but the trouble is it only actually going on one way. That's it. So yeah, so like I said, I fed it into this front part of this fuselage. It's kind of resting in this first hole. Like I say, that's near enough broke off. Yeah, I'll have to glue that one back on after. So now we're going to push it a bit more forward, just so we get enough room to kind of bend this tail jig. And we can feed it all the way along, and then it's now protruding just slightly out this back section, and it's kind of resting under every one of these little ribs. Okay, so now we can kind of get this glued in place. So pretty much all we're going to do is, because it's actually not sitting in its position yet, we can kind of just run a little bit of wood glue in, push that up into the correct positions, and hold on some of these little pegs. Okay, so I'm watching say World of Waves. I mean, World of Waves is a patron of mine. I also have a patron of his. So I'm watching his live stream build maybe a month ago actually now. I was talking about this PVA glue. So what I tend to do normally, this is this, well, it's actually this Gorilla Wood glue. And what I tend to do, if I'm kind of building any of my wooden models like the Victory or obviously Sopwith Camel or the Yamato, is I normally put the glue out about half an hour first before I actually start working on it. And what you kind of get, you start to get a little bit of skin, and that's kind of good. So all you do is kind of break off that skin. But what happens with this glue, once it starts to get a bit of skin on it and it gets a little bit, obviously age, when it gets obviously mixes with the air, obviously I'm not kind of sure what kind of chemical reaction happens, but it just comes, I've noticed it becomes a lot more stickier, and it becomes a little bit more like super glue. So you kind of like, once it's been, so if you put that on straight away, it's still very runny, but like I say, after half an hour, yeah, it just glues a lot nicer and a lot easier to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some of this glue. I'm just going to pull this just slightly down with my finger, drop a little bit of glue under each one of these little hooks where these part sits. One into this far one. Don't have to worry about that, that's just a tail jig. And then, in fact, I'll just feed this one out here a second so I can get a little bit of glue just in there. And just a bit under there. Okay, so what we can do now is just push these up. Getting some of these little mini pegs. I don't know if anybody uses these mini pegs, but I find them to be really useful for this kind of construction. So like I say, I'm going to kind of put one under this part, so that it's going to kind of, so I've got the bottom of the peg under the part, and then the top of the peg on the inside of the fuselage. So that's kind of clamped that up nice. Move along. Like I say, you can see it closes that gap nice. Same again, let's move along. And just kind of get two more if we can. Like I say, it's a little bit tricky, but we can get it in. So I'm just going to make sure this one's all the way pushed up. And that's that one got. Okay, so I'm not putting any glue onto this front part because, like I say, I'm going to pull it off after we take it out of this jig. I'm going to remove this, and then I can give it a coat of paint. Okay, so like I say, it's looking pretty much okay. This one's not really attached at all yet, so that's why it's kind of still got a little bit of slop. So I'm thinking, should I glue this one on now, or if it's not really interfering with anything, I might just leave it off and glue it on when we kind of work to it, because like I say, it's just hanging there and it's still quite a good risk of it breaking off, so I might just leave that off for the time being. So what I'm going to do, like I did before, just get a little bit of a damp paintbrush, any of this excess glue that's spilling out, just take a bit off. Okay, so we can leave that to dry a good 10 minutes and then we'll move on to the next stage.